Hello and welcome. My name is Mary Hunter. I'm chair of the Clatsop County Democrats. Thanks for coming today. We're excited to have this opportunity to get to know you a little bit better.
Absolutely, I'm happy to be here.
So my first question is, please tell me your name and the position you're running for.
My name is Geoff Gunn, and I'm running for City Council, Ward 1. Very excited to have this opportunity, and looking forward to serving the community.
Okay, and what has moved you to take on this role in the community?
Well, I've been kind of interested in getting into politics for some time now. My wife had let me know that this position had come available. And so I thought, why not, throw my hat in the ring. I've lived in the community here in Ward 1 and worked in Ward 1. I've lived here for 17 years. I've worked in Ward 1 for since 2013. And so, I've gotten a chance to really know the community and kind of get a really good feel for it, if you will. And so, I've become pretty impassioned. I've seen the ups and the downs, and looking forward to a lot more ups. Looking forward to the future.
Okay, and what experience or background do you have that you feel prepares you for this position?
I've been in the hospitality industry for 30 years and working mostly in restaurants. Most of that time was in management. I'm a classically trained chef, and so I work mostly in the back of the house, but I also am the general manager and have been general manager of different restaurants. And so I feel like working in hospitality, you really have kind of your finger on the pulse of the community, especially in this community where we have, at my restaurant anyways, we have such a local following. And so we get to talk to these people on a very regular basis. We get to know the community. We get to know the needs of the community. And we get to feel the strains on the community as a whole. And so part of my job is getting to know those people, but also, you have to be really good in a restaurant to problem solve and to come up with solutions and to be proactive and be innovative and all those things, creative in your approach, not only to the food, but the customer, to the environment and all those kind of things. To properly serve the people around you. And so, part of one of the skills that I think I'm very good at is problem solving on the fly, and also being innovative, also being inspirational, creative, and all those things. And so I think that, as a manager, you have to take on so many different roles. A lot of times I have to be a therapist to my employees, there's so many different aspects and things, to the job that I think would really lend itself to the position.
Okay, thank you. And now we get into the Astoria questions. So affordable housing is a huge issue in our communities here on the coast. Do you have any thoughts on paths to increase the availability of affordable housing for Astoria?
Well, that's where I get kind of excited because if anybody knows, we've had a major issue with being able to find employees for the hospitality industry. It's been the worst I've ever seen it in 30 years since the pandemic. And I'm not sure exactly where it stems from, but I do know that people just can't afford to live here. And so where do we start? There's I can come up with every solution in the book. Does it really make sense? So we kind of have to go from the ground up. And I feel as though there are some people that have kind of taken advantage of the situation since the pandemic. I have seen rent rates double in the last couple of years without upgrading property, without taking care of the resident. And so it's become increasingly frustrating for not only myself because I can't find employees, but also for people that want to live in the area that just can't afford it. And so, I mean, there's a number of things that I have thought about, including, maybe taking some of the derelict houses that, are ready to be condemned, finding somebody that's willing to invest some money into it, and making it into a property that is affordable for people that, that want to be here and want to work here. The other thing is finding investors, talking with the federal government, finding places where we can find that money to, to build something. And I know that there's not a lot of buildable space here in Astoria, but maybe some of those derelict properties that are ready to fall down anyways, maybe we can find somebody that's interested in tearing it down and building something to where we have a place where 4 or 5, people or families can live. I'm not talking about huge structures, but, finding those little opportunities, especially here in Ward 1, there is I think there's a lot more opportunity in Ward 1, as opposed to maybe the downtown or, on the South Slope, to where we can find those opportunities to build something. But we also need buy-in from other community members to allow that to happen. And so I think that it's general education. I think that some of the business owners that also own property don't really see that their decisions to stop these things from happening are actually impacting their business. And so I think it's just information, giving people information is always the best way of going about it. So I think that there's a lot of opportunity. It's just a matter of getting the ideas put together, finding the people that are willing to do the work. I know a lot of contractors that, would probably be happy to do that kind of work as long as it makes sense for them. And so I think, just us being, little Astoria, I think that there's ways of us branching out into state and federal to find those funds to make it, more accessible for us.
Mhm. Great. And then related but separate, what possible solutions do you think we should explore for homelessness in our community?
That's a really tough one. Being that I work at Bridgewater, I see it every day, all day. The one thing that I do see is that for the most part, it seems like, there are certain things that come up all the time. So number one, it's psychological or emotional. There's abuse issues, obviously, with drugs, alcohol, or otherwise. And I think that we need to kind of go back to the root. Where's the root of the problem? And how do we find resources for those people? And I'm not a bleeding heart. I don't say we should just give them everything they want, but I think what we need to do is find ways of dealing with them in a more appropriate way. It's not always just sending the cops or Port Authority or whoever to kick them out or displace them or tell them that they're not allowed to do what they're doing or whatever the case may be. But if we can find some way of integrating a kind of a grassroots approach to it and finding qualified people in those areas in terms of psychological care, in terms of drug and alcohol abuse care, and forming some sort of a task force so that all these different entities can be kind of intertwined, and sending them out and letting them take care of these people from a mental state, or from, just showing them that somebody actually cares, and letting them open up a little bit, and letting them tell you what they need, and getting them to a place where they feel more comfortable getting the treatment, or getting the help, or getting the resources that they need. Instead of just handing out soup, why don't we hand out some, some education, or some sort of help to them, so that way they can start themselves from the ground up into a better place. Um, that's kind of how I see it at this point. I, to be honest with you, I had an employee that I hired that was homeless. He unfortunately had an alcohol problem. Um, I I gave him a sleeping bag and a pillow. I went downtown, picked him up because he was in a fight with somebody, and so there's only so much you can do, and I totally understand that. But I wasn't well equipped to deal with his situation. And so if we can find, we definitely have a deficit of people that are in that position, that they understand these people's problems in this area. And so I think, there's a lot of recruiting that we can do to bring these people here, and give them the incentive to come to our area to give the help that's desperately needed.
Thank you. And then aside from affordable housing and homelessness, in the next 4 years, what do you think the biggest issue for Astoria will be, and how would you deal with it?
Well, unfortunately, they all kind of tie together. In the next 4 years, I would like to see us obviously try to conquer some of these issues. I think that community awareness and pride in community is super important. And so I would like to, try to talk to the community at large, and also some of the people that can influence the community, about just kind of bringing some general love to the community, whether it be we have a trash pickup thing, or we do some sort of community garden. I would like to get the port involved in kind of cleaning up some of the areas along the Riverwalk where it's kind of gone to the wayside. I would like to see, I guess, just a little more community involvement. But, for the most part, I just want awareness, and not so much the shut-in value where it's like, well, this is my property and I don't care about what goes on outside of it. I want some sort of more inclusiveness. And I know that's just kind of like a personal thing. I would like to try to talk about some of the transportation issues. I think that part of the issue that we are having here in the area, without the ability to hire more employees, is the lack of transportation, or public transportation. And I think it's a major issue. And I think that, there's some way that we can try to address that. Also, just transportation in general, traffic has gotten so ridiculous during the summer that maybe there's some way that we can work with the Department of Transportation on, timing of lights, or, back roads, things like that. It's just, luckily I work like 2 minutes from from my house, and so it doesn't really affect me very much. But when you have people traveling from Warrenton, or maybe Napa, it takes them forever. And so,
Yeah, Emerald Heights. Yeah.
Emerald Heights, it take you 45 minutes to get from Emerald Heights sometimes, to here. And so I don't know. I would like to see a change there for sure. Backlogs, maybe trying to figure out how to um, make it safer on the bridge, both bridges actually, because that's where our accidents mostly happen in this general area. Um, and also the trucks coming down with Jake brakes. I live right below the bridge, and so it rattles my house every time some guy comes down, with his Jake brakes on. But those are all little things that are going to take time. And I think that, with the homelessness and the affordable housing, those are the top big issues. And so I want to accomplish something there before I even delve into any of the other things.
Yeah, thank you. And that's the end of my prepared questions. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I've dedicated myself over 20 years to nonprofits and helping out the community, and just want to make sure that I continue on that path, with United Way and so many great charities here in the area, in Clatsop County. I just want to, make sure that we're taking care of ourselves and each other.
Actually, can you talk a little bit about the other nonprofits you've worked with?
So I started out 20 years ago with the Economic Development Council of Tillamook County. They asked me to come and do an Iron Chef there, and so that is what kind of spurred the Iron Chef Goes Coastal here with United Way. But so I started that one down there. We did it for about 3 or 4 years, and it just didn't seem economically viable. But in the same, I think I did it for 2 years. We wanted to start the Iron Chef Goes Coastal up here, and they called me, and they knew I was doing the one down in Tillamook, and so I was like, yeah, sure, I'll start it up, no problem. And so they were like 2 weeks apart, and so I kind of killed myself trying to do 2 different food venue things at the within the 2-week period. But but it was a great event. It started off at the Red Building where I work now, and we had something like 320 people at the first ever event, and it's since grown to over 700 people, and we've raised millions of dollars for United Way, and obviously all the nonprofits that they support and that they fund. And it's been a great challenge, and it's been such a wonderful outcome to see the impact of what we started so many years ago. I think it's been 14 years now. And so it's such a wonderful event. I'm also in conjunction with my wife, my beautiful wife, Bethany. We're also CASAs, which is a court-appointed specialty advocate. And so what we do is we take on cases of younger children that are going through the court system because of whatever situation is going on with them. And we just meet with them. We meet with the parents, and we give our recommendations to the court as to what scenario would be best for the child. So we've been very passionate about that. I've actually done fundraising for CASA for many years. I just became a CASA, and my wife's been in a CASA for about 3 or 4 years now. I've worked with, like I said, the Economic Development Council, ProStart. I've been heavily involved in ProStart, which is a high school cooking class, which turns into a competition that they go to state competition. And if they win state, they go to nationals. And so I've been lucky enough to work with both Tillamook ProStart as well as Seaside ProStart. I was nominated as Chef Mentor of the Year for Tillamook. I got the Partners in Education Award for the Northwest Regional Education Service District. I've always been very involved. we've done the light bite and all those things for, for local women's charities and all those things. So it's one thing that's very near and dear to my heart. Every time I have a chance to do something for a nonprofit or for the community, I'm right there, willing and able.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. So when we're done with all of these recordings for all of these interviews we're doing, we'll be posting them to YouTube and social media, and I'll send you a link when we've got those up.
Okay, sounds great.
All right, thanks for coming.
All right, have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.